Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the Founders in LA podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Cole, and this is an opportunity to shine the spotlight on some of the exceptional startup founders we have as part of the LA community in an unedited, one take organic conversation. With us today is Ryan Morrissey, fresh off the stage from Techstars LA Demo Day. Thank you for coming down and joining us today, Ryan.
Absolutely, man. I'm super excited to be here. Truly appreciate just inviting me and shining some light on a bit of the story here. So excited to be here, man.
Oh, this is going to be a great one, Ryan. I'm excited for this. But first, a word from our sponsors. Founders in LA is brought to you by Unita. Unita Club is the co-working space that sets itself apart. With the locations in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, and Hermosa, Unita is where creativity flourishes. Unlike traditional offices, they provide an inspiring environment where ideas can thrive and businesses can grow. With Unita, there's no hidden fees, flexible terms, options for dedicated offices, and unlimited access to conference rooms, a photo studio, a podcast studio much like this one, plus standard 3D printers and 24/7 access to any of their locations. They're local champions who support neighborhood businesses, open their event spaces to nonprofits, and celebrate art, music, and culture. Join Unita Club and experience co-working like never before. Learn more at www.unita.club. That's www.unita.colb. We're also brought to you by the Product Managers Association Los Angeles, available at pma.la. They're the largest professional organization for product and designers in LA, with more than 3,000 members from over 500 companies. They host monthly meetups, organize the Product Leader Council, and have a mentorship program where they connect working product managers with students from underrepresented groups to build a better, more diverse next gen. To learn more about PMA, go to pma.la. To learn more about the mentorship program, go to pma.la/mentorship. Our guest today is Ryan Morrissey. He's the co-founder and CEO of Happiest Ours, and that's Hours with O-U-R-S.
That's it.
Hey, Ryan, can you just give us a 30-second rundown of Happiest Hours?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm glad you brought up the spelling too, because it was intentional and it's about our time and how do we elevate our experience, right? And whatever we're doing. But Happiest Hours, from a consumer standpoint, it is a marketplace where you can simply book a bartender and you can purchase the exact amount of alcohol for your events, any event, from a backyard party all the way up to a corporate event or a 600-person wedding. We can do it all. On the back end, we're doing something really special where we're helping bartending companies understand their business more by giving them, information to their profit margins and their year-to-date revenue and all that good stuff. So it's building a tool for them so that they can easily get more business and learn more about their business. And on the consumer front end, it's just making it super simple to book a bartender.
Wow. So from the consumer perspective, it's like almost like an Uber for a bartender.
You got it. That's exactly what it is. And I think the biggest component is more so having the ability to instant book. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of these other platforms, you have to fill out a ton of information,
Right.
and then you have to disconnect and wait for somebody to respond to you. I just think it's unfair. It's like, I just spent all this time filling out this information. Now I have to wait for something. We wanted to make sure that if you're going to decide to do something, you can complete that task in that moment if you wanted to. So we've accomplished that, which is great. And then the other tricky part to it is the alcohol component and all the red tape that's involved, the 3-tier system, prohibition laws, all that good stuff. But we have our own wine and spirit shop in Corona. If you're ever in town, come by. But it gives us the liquor license so we can sell the alcohol to the clients, create this one-stop shop experience.
That's amazing. So part of what you described it, and from a product perspective, that's amazing to be able to have the on-call and to have the instant value that you get as a user, instead of having to fill this thing out and you're not sure what the result's going to be. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's like, feels like sometimes as I recall, it was like a handwritten, paper application I've had to done in the past, and you submit it and you wait. This is more of like the Uber gig economy where the bartender is kind of lined up for you while you're doing it. I love that from a product perspective. You also mentioned a pain point that I've faced myself when you throw parties, and it's often hard to anticipate exactly how much of what will be used at that moment. And maybe for whatever reason, people feel like it's a vodka night or it's a tequila night for tonight. And so for whatever reason, you stocked up on the other thing and you have all these bottles left over. more often than not, you can't get returns on alcohol. It sounds like Happiest Hours is as one of the pain points they're helping solve.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head, because you can't return alcohol. And whenever you're having an event, more than likely the bartender is going to give you a shopping list and you have to go to Costco. They're going to help with how much you need to buy, but 100% of the time, it's never going to be right because you don't
Right.
know what your guests are going to get after it for that night. Right. So you're either going to buy too much of the product that they're not using or drinking, or you're going to buy not enough product of the most popular one for that evening. So we provide a solution to where we're essentially lending you alcohol, more than enough for your event. We come back and we pick up any of the unopened bottles, and then we transact the sale at that moment in time. So we've never technically returned anything for you. We have your card on file. We dropped it off, and then we pick it up when you're done. We pick up any unopened bottles, and that's it. So it caters the experience to whatever you're trying to have at your event, which I think is just, it's so key, and a lot of our clients, they love it.
That's great. It's like an easy button for budgeting for the alcohol. You only pay for what you need. You don't have to pay for anything you don't get.
You got it. And
Love it.
and and that's how it works, like on at bars, right? It's like you buy a drink and you pay for that drink. And that's a different type of license. So when people are having an event, we're trying to create that experience in people's backyards or other places as well, especially like weddings when there's a ton of people. They went through these roller coaster of emotions and they're ready to have a drink. And so it's all like the budgeting behind it gets very difficult, right? So we're able to help out in that area by providing this solution.
That's awesome. Love to tap into that last bit you mentioned as well, the analytics that you're then providing back. Because I feel like, and I don't know this. Maybe more than me. Like you're an expert in this, but it feels like that's a space where analytics hasn't really come into its own. It feels like in bartending or the alcohol sales from the like a bar perspective and the event planning perspective, the analytics isn't really there yet. Is that, or is it already there? It's pretty locked in.
It's a little bit of both. And right, I only know what I know, but when it comes to the on-premise bars, restaurants, and stuff like that, there's more analytics to that, right? Because they can track more what's going on inside the restaurant. But when it comes to the event space, things
Mm.
outside of that, that's where it gets a little wishy-washy. And we're definitely helping out in that area as we're collecting all of this data of what people are drinking, when they're drinking it, what demographic, what geographical area, like all of those things play a factor into even which cocktail works the best for this situation.
Mm.
And again, we can provide a solution to say like, hey, it helps from a recommendation or suggestion standpoint, like, hey, people around this area and for this time frame and this time of the year, they like palomas. And so if you want to pick one of your cocktails to be a paloma, that might really work for your event. At the same time, though, it's still very difficult to say how much tequila you need for that paloma because it may work out or it may not. There's still a chance maybe all of their guests came from New York and they love New York sours.
Mm.
And I didn't have that information. So the solution of lending the alcohol more than enough for any, if it's wine, beer, or that New York sour, for any of them to have enough of that, and then pick up what was not used, I still think that's going to be the best way to go about doing it.
Yeah, and even if the analytics is there for the bar industry, uh, and again, I don't know the numbers, but the numbers for events, which would include weddings, which would include any number of other functions that happen, that has to be a pretty sizable amount of money that's just kind of thrown away at
Mm.
the end of it. If you look at it the national scale,
Yeah, absolutely. It's the great thing about alcohol, right? It doesn't expire for the most part.
right?
So you can always use it for a different event, but you look at a big wedding and it's just like if you overspend by $1,500, it's like that money could have been allocated doing something else, right? It's more of a just in time situation.
Hmm.
And that's what we really help out with, and they just, our clients, they just love it from that standpoint.
Yeah, and if you're a couple at a wedding, I've been there too. Is what are you going to do with like 5 extra bottles of vodka. Like, we're
Yeah,
not really vodka drinkers,
yep,
but, it just didn't fall that way. So,
that's it.
love it, Ryan. So how did you find yourself doing this? How did you make this? How did you break yourself into, becoming a founder and dedicating your life to this?
Yeah, let me there's like the long and then the medium and then the short version of it, but I'll try to make it as succinct as possible. At the end of the day, who I am, I'm an only child. And I think if you're an only child, you kind of can go in two different directions. You can either go like, you play a lot of video games by yourself, you can be a little bit introverted, or you're just getting thrown into a bunch of neighborhoods and you're forced to make friends. And
Mm.
I was more of the latter part. So I always loved getting people together, learning other people's cultures. And I moved so much through my childhood that I was just forced to make friends with people.
An only
Um,
child who had to move a lot.
Only child that had to move a lot.
Oof.
And so um, what happened is after high school, I was actually born in England. And so my dad's side of the family, they're out there. And after high school, or during high school, my dad passed away. And I
Oh.
decided to go back to England to understand his side of the family better. And one of the first jobs I got out there was bartending. And that's where the seed of Happiest Hours comes from. It's more so because I see, right, drinking age out there is 18. So I feel like I hit the lottery, right? And so I'm at this really cool bar, and I would see two different people come from work, sitting on opposite sides of the bar, pretty reserved. And as I'm giving them their martinis or whatever they're drinking, they're just itching closer and closer together. And the next thing you know it, they're sharing their life stories. I'm from Italy and I'm from here. And then they're hugging each other. And it's just like I'm looking at this magic just happen in front of my eyes.
Uh,
And I just got obsessed with um, how it can build connections, and just a little cocktail can just make people like a little bit put their guard down and have a good time.
right.
And that's the seed of everything. Fast forward, I wanted to continue that coming back to LA. It was pretty difficult. It's all about who you know. Bartending is the cream of the crop when it comes to hospitality. Everybody wants to become that bartender. And so I went to bartending school, didn't really get much out of it. So that was another seed. I wanted to really help these bartenders like just get more business in the gig
Mm.
economy. And the biggest thing that really said, all right, I'm going to solve a problem for this was I was, I went, I was doing my corporate America job. I finished school and all that good stuff. But on my time off, I'd always make cocktails. And this one particular weekend, I brought in all my friends from out of town, and I didn't want to get caught with disconnecting from conversations making cocktails. So I decided to hire a bartender.
Okay.
And that's where I just felt like the process was just clunky, right? And it just felt like some people, you'd fit all this information, like I mentioned, and some people would respond, some wouldn't. And then when the people would respond, there's different packages and pricing. And then when we actually got when they gave us this huge shopping list, and exactly what happened was, we bought all this alcohol. We didn't use half of it. And
Right.
like I lived in a shoebox in expensive San Francisco, right? And so it's like I didn't know where to put all this stuff. And so I had to like give it away, and it just seemed like a waste of money.
Right.
And I just felt like from start to finish, there was just a better way to do this. And that's when I just went on the mission to create that.
That's fantastic. And so what's next for Happiest Hours? You guys are just completed Techstars LA. So
Yeah.
what's on tap, if you
Yeah,
will?
on tap. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I like
Yeah.
that. It's we're raising right now, which is great. Going through that process. But also I'm really excited about version 2 of what we're doing. So we created the process to where you don't have to talk to anybody to book. You can pick your cocktails, your bartender, all that stuff. And then we do have our wine and spirit shop in Corona with the actual liquor license. Version 2 is going to include the picking the alcohol with the cocktails all in one platform. So
Mm.
now we don't have to talk at all. And then also licensing out the booking platform to other bartending companies and aspiring bartenders as well. We're working with a lot of bartending schools that they
Oh, that's
graduate
smart.
bartenders, and we're going to pretty much give them a bartender in a box and help them get bookings and all that good stuff. So I'm really excited for that portion of or that phase of our business. I do think it's an emerging market because normally when newer bartenders come on to provide their services, they do it at a very affordable rate to really brand themselves. And that affordability will allow people on the consumer end to really think about hiring a bartender. Um, it's it's still interesting to me that people are like, "Oh wow, I didn't know that people actually do this." And I'm like, "Yeah, they do it." And you probably just didn't think about it because you'll just buy alcohol, have it on the kitchen counter with the jungle juice and just have fun that way. But until you experience a bartender coming in that makes it super convenient for you, it's hard to go back to that kitchen experience.
Right.
And all that needs to happen is just needs to happen within people's budget. And I think by doing that, by creating what we're doing, we're able to create an emerging market on both the supply and the demand side. So we're pretty excited about that.
I love it. Yeah, just an easy button, and you don't have to worry about the bartender doesn't have to be the highest end bartender. It doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. You can get someone who's on their way up, but they're dedicated to it and they're knowledgeable.
You got it. And to your point, even on the flip side, we can get some really high end bartenders. There's some people that just want a certain experience with a particular high end bartender from LA, and they're willing to fly them to Nashville to do this mezcal tasting. We'll be able to provide experiences like that. So we'll be all over the spectrum and how you want this experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I
Yep.
guess grounding this in Los Angeles, Ryan. What's the most LA thing that's happened to you? It could be tech related. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. The most it's funny, we do a lot of events within SoCal, all the way down to San Diego, all the way up to like Santa Barbara ish. And the LA thing for sure is the whatever and soda cocktail, like
Okay.
tequila soda, vodka soda, right? It's like how we operate is you pick three cocktails from our menu. We have this really cool passion fruit margarita, really good ingredients, but we always bring backup options. And it can be, if you got tequila, you get pineapple juice. If you got vodka, you got cranberry juice, right? But we always bring club soda and enough of it because that is the number one LA thing. Once you come in here, you just got a tequila soda for me, a little bit of lime, So that'll be my LA thing.
You just named my drink at the
Yeah.
last event I was at. So that's terrific.
That's it.
Well, thank you again so much. We've been speaking with Ryan Morrissey. It's Happiest Hours with OURS. And Ryan, where can they find you? Happiesthours.com.
Yeah, you got it. So happiesthours.com. Again, it's without that second H. So it's OURS. You can find us on Instagram, happiest_hours, and LinkedIn as well. So we're pretty active on the socials. So you guys, contact us. We'd love to hear your story as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you to our sponsors, PMALA and Unita. I'd like to thank you all for listening to us. If you like what you hear, please smash that subscribe button. Sign up for a newsletter that has bonus content and a transcript of today's episode and links to some of the topics we covered. And you can do all that on foundersinla.com. I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on Founders in LA.